everyone, welcome to the English drill. In this video, I am going to display a few pictures from Total English, and that is a very trusted source, the Total English. You can totally refer to it for your English language preparations. And the pictures I am going to be displaying today under this video for the picture composition section, they are all from the Total English book. So in this video, I'm going to discuss how you can frame picture compositions based on the different kinds of pictures that you might be given in your examination. Now, I have a few examples here which I am going to discuss, but you might be given different kinds of pictures that are very different from these. What I am going to explain is how you can analyze these pictures, what you need to see, what you need to identify in these pictures in order to write a picture composition, and how many different kinds of picture compositions you can write based on these pictures. So this is the very first picture. As you all can see, it displays what looks like a family of 4. There's a woman on the left hand side, there's a man on the right hand side, and there are 2 children in the center of the picture. And the man is helping one of the 2 children to chop the vegetables. We cannot see what exactly they are chopping, but the man is helping the child out. There's also another child who is looking at the other 2 on his right side. And from what it seems like a family. It seems like they are the parents and the 2 children are siblings. And it is a scene in the kitchen. From the background, you can easily surmise there are bowls kept behind the family on the shelves. There's also, I think, a microwave down there which is half covered by the man wearing a white shirt. And then there's this table, and on the table you can see there are various vegetables. I can see a broccoli, some bell peppers, and the woman on the left hand side is also chopping some vegetables. We don't know exactly what she is chopping, but we can understand that they are trying to cook something, all of them together. So this is what you can guess from the picture. The woman is also wearing an apron, and the little child in the center of the picture, the child is looking very attentively at what the man and what seems like his sibling is doing. So if you are given this kind of a picture in your icse exam, you can let your imagination take flight. You can totally write a descriptive composition on it. You can write a narrative composition, and I think a narrative composition is going to be the best choice here, because if you remember, in one of the narrative essay samples, there was this composition on a sample essay on my first experience in the kitchen, right? It was a blend of the narrative and descriptive composition where you had to describe what you're seeing, the different colors of the vegetables, how you're chopping or mincing them, the different sights, the taste, the smell. That is exactly what you can do here. Except you see there are 4 characters in this picture. So do not write that you alone were cooking something in the kitchen. That is going to go against what the picture is trying to convey to you. There are 4 characters in this picture, so please stick to that. Your essay also needs to have 4 characters. So suppose you're writing a composition about a cooking experience, then you have to include 3 other characters along with you, 2 elders and 2 children. You can be one of the elders, or you can also be one of the children. Depends on your perspective. You can totally imagine yourself to be one of these 4 characters, or you can also imagine yourself to be someone extra in the kitchen, another character present with them in the kitchen who is also partaking in the whole experience. So this is what it looks through your eyes. This is what you can see when you are in the kitchen with them. Or you can also imagine yourself to be one of these children, and then you can frame an essay on it. Or you can also write about an experience from your past when you were a child, when all four of you, maybe your parents and your sibling, you all tried to cook a meal together. And what exactly your experience was like. So this is something you can write about. And a narrative essay, I think, is going to be the best fit for this. All together cooking a meal. What was your experience like? What all did you cook? These are things you have to write. How did you chop the vegetables? Who helped you to chop the vegetables? What kind of vegetables? What were you making? What was the recipe? How did it turn out? Everything. All of these things you can write about if you're given a picture like this. So it's fairly easy. And you also have a sample provided to you. You can use points from that sample and then improvise it the way you like. This is the next picture. As you can see, this picture is very suggestive. There's a road in the picture. There are 4 scooters on the road. Perhaps 2 scooters and 2 bikes. There's a man walking on the pavement. There's a group of people standing at the extreme right of the picture, near the pavement, on the pavement. There's also a man standing towards the left. And what it seems like, he is holding a handkerchief to his nose. And the most important thing about the picture is that the chimney smoke. There are chimneys, factories in the background. There are also 2 skyscrapers, big buildings. There's a lot of smoke. Lot of smoke in the picture. And then there are trees by the road. So, you can frame a reflective composition based on this, where you reflect about air pollution, how factories are contributing to air pollution, and how it is affecting the atmosphere, how it is affecting human beings, how it is affecting the plants. And you can also suggest possible measures that these factories could employ in order to somehow alleviate the effects of air pollution, to somehow reduce the ill effects of air pollution. So this can be a completely reflective essay, a thoughtful essay. You don't have to describe anything or narrate anything here if you make it a reflective essay. You just have to present your thoughts about this whole scene, your thoughts about air pollution. But do not forget to include factories and chimney smoke here, okay? Because this is a picture that shows you the chimneys. The chimneys are very prominent in this picture, and then the smoke that is coming out of the chimneys. But if you get a picture like this, and then you write about air pollution from vehicles on the road, then that is not going to be right. Okay, this is primarily about how factories are contributing to air pollution. So you have to stick to that. Yes, obviously, in some part of the essay, you can write a few lines, a few sentences about how there are other sources of air pollution too, like vehicles on the road. And, you know, you can write about the different sources and different causes of air pollution. But primarily, you have to focus on chimneys, and how factories are contributing to air pollution. So this can be totally reflective. If you have enough idea about air pollution, if you think you have sufficient vocabulary in order to make your essay really stand out, then obviously you can go for this. It's going to be easy. It's going to be really easy. Or you can also write a story on it. But that's totally up to you. If you interpret it as an explosion of some sort, the thing in the center, the immense amount of smoke in the center, then obviously you can write a story around it. But I would suggest, if you really want to play safe, then write something reflective. Write what comes to your mind, what this picture suggests to you. And the easiest thing would be to write about air pollution. Because you've already learned a lot about air pollution, the different types of pollution, the causes, the effects, the measures you can employ to reduce air pollution. So you can use all of that information to frame a reflective composition. The next picture too is related to air pollution, but the source is different. Why I've used this example is because when I was discussing the rules of picture composition, I hope you remember there was one point where I said that the details in the picture, the hidden details in the background, they are very, very important. So both of these pictures are about air pollution, but the difference between them is that one of these pictures show how air is being polluted by the factories, the smoke that is being emitted by the chimneys in the factories. But the second picture, it's mostly about how vehicles, buses and cars, they are contributing to air pollution. This is one major difference between the first and the second picture. So you know where your focus should be. The source of this air pollution in the second picture is completely different from the source in the third picture. So keep these small details in mind when you're writing a picture composition. The fourth picture is of a completely different sort. It shows a classroom. There are students sitting in the classroom. The benches are made of wood. And the students are all scattered. They are not sitting close to each other. They are all wearing masks. This is a co-ed school. There are both girls and boys. And there's an invigilator standing in the center of the picture. She's also wearing a mask and she is wearing a sari, I think. Yes, she is wearing a sari. So she is a woman, and you can understand from the masks in the picture and the way the students are all scattered, not sitting close to each other, that this conveys a scene of examination during the pandemic. It can be an examination, it can be a class where the teacher is teaching something. Maybe students have gone back to school. They are having a class. It can also be an examination. But the most important detail in this picture is that it's happening during COVID, which is why the social distancing norms are being followed. So this is the primary detail of the picture. It's happening during COVID. It's not a pre-COVID situation. A pre-COVID situation would be very different. The classroom would look very different. So, if you get a picture like this, then you can easily write about your experience, again, a narrative composition, your experience of how, after a long spell of lockdown, when you went back to school, and met your friends and sat in one of the classrooms and experienced an offline class after almost 2 years, how did you feel? What was your experience? Was it different? Did you feel good about it? So everything that comes to your mind, place yourself in the shoes of one of these students. Imagine that you're sitting inside this classroom and write an essay, write a narrative essay. You can also write a descriptive essay where you will be focusing on what you can see, what you can hear all around you. That will be completely descriptive. But if you're writing a narrative composition on it, then you have to focus on your experience. How are you feeling about it? Are you feeling excited to join your friends again after 2 years? How is the class different now from what it used to be? Do you find it difficult to cope with offline classes after attending online classes for so long? So you can write about all of these different things if you're attempting this essay. The next picture shows a roadside scene, a part of the street. You can see trucks stationed on one side. There are a few stalls on the side of the street. But what forms the primary focus of this picture is the dogs. And what is being done to those dogs? Once again, there's an important detail that you might miss. And that is, all the human beings in the picture who are feeding the dogs, they are wearing masks. So once again, this is a scene from the COVID times. It is not a pre-COVID scene. This is very much a scene from the COVID times where people are all wearing masks and the dogs are being fed. See, each of these dogs, they have a plate right in front of them. And there's food on the plate, right? So these generous human beings, they are feeding the dogs. So once again, you can write a story based on this picture. You can also write a narrative essay based on this picture. Story and narrative essay, they are going to be quite similar. If you incorporate dialogues, if you incorporate a little bit of description about the setting, then it becomes a story. And if you want to write a narrative essay on it, then you have to write about your personal experience. You can imagine yourself in this situation. Maybe you are a part of the NGO that takes care of the dogs in the street by feeding them regularly. Or maybe you have your own group of friends and you've decided to feed the dogs one day. And you can actually write a lot about it, how you went about collecting money for this project, how you bought the food, what happened on that day, how you distributed the food among the dogs, and what were their reaction. How did they react when they saw the fresh home-cooked meals? These dogs who are always out on the streets, who have to eat from the dustbins, who have to eat discarded wastes and refuse, how do they react when you place plates of delicious home-cooked meals in front of them? So this is something that you can write about, a personal experience where you and your friends, a group, decides to feed the dogs in the street, the neglected dogs. But during the COVID times, This is perhaps an initiative that you and your group of friends undertake as a part of your social service drives. Or you can also write a reflective essay on it. A reflective essay on how such NGOs who are taking care of the animals in the street, how they are contributing to society, and how by helping them and partaking in their efforts, we can also make this world a better place. So it all depends on how you interpret the picture. But these are all street dogs. And this is the COVID time because they are all wearing masks. So these are small details that you cannot miss. What a pre-COVID initiative like this would look like is very different from what a COVID situation would appear to be. If an initiative like this is undertaking during the COVID time, it's going to be very different from what it would look like if it were undertaking pre-COVID times. So based on that, you can write either a reflective essay on it, where you state your own thoughts about how such groups of people, such NGOs, are taking care of the animals. There are many NGOs who are taking care of human beings, who are, really helping people out when they are in need of oxygen cylinders, or, there are certain groups that are setting up websites to help people out with information about hospitals and ventilators and vacancies in different hospitals, where to get oxygen cylinders, how you can consult doctors, book appointments, and so on. But there are also people who are looking after the animals, the much neglected animals on the street, who are being severely affected due to COVID as well. Not directly by COVID, but indirectly, because now there's nobody to look after them. So you can write about such people and what a positive change they are bringing to society. You can also, like I said, narrate a personal experience, and in case you do this, then you have to imagine yourself to be one of these people. And this is the last picture example that I have here. And why I used this is because from this picture it might look like there's a group of boys playing something. Right, this is what it looks like. And you can write a story about, how you participated in a match one day. Maybe you'll write something like a running race or some other relay race, but that is where you will be mistaken. I deliberately use this picture here because this is a game that is being played, and the name of this game is Kho-Kho. And it's a very, very famous game. So this is not just a running race or a relay race of any sort, but this is a game. The name of this game is Kho-Kho. And this is something we used to play in school too. So don't write that this is a running race or a relay race of some sort. Because if your examiner is someone who is aware of the rules of Kho-Kho or who has played Kho-Kho, then you might be in trouble. Because this is not just any game, but this is a game of Kho-Kho. And once again, you can write a narrative essay on it, on how you were taught to play this game. How you can also write about the past, about how you used to play with your friends in school, and how you miss playing these games now in the lockdown. When you're stuck inside your house, you can barely go outside. Also, these boys are all without masks, so it's very much the pre-COVID time, not the post-COVID or the COVID situation. No, it's not that. This is very much the pre-COVID situation. So you can write about the game. You can write about your experience playing the game. You can create a story out of it, where you're probably the one who is chasing Just make something up, create a story out of it. How maybe this was a state level match and you were already injured that day or you were sick that day, but still you had to participate because you could not let your team down. And then how you led your team to victory. Make a full-fledged story out of it, Just let your imagination take flight. You can easily create a story. Because from the picture, we cannot understand whether one of these members is sick or not. So you can very well incorporate that and create a story out of it. You can write about yourself as one of these players, or you can also write about a friend. Maybe you were there to watch this game. So these are a few examples of pictures and how you can frame picture compositions based on these examples. Be very careful about the minute details in the picture. These details tell you a lot about what time the picture is taken from, what kind of location, what kind of characters are there in the picture, what kind of setting, what kind of background, the expression on the people's faces, if you can see the people. That is also very important. What they are wearing, how do they look like. From the third picture, they are school students because they are all dressed in school uniforms and they have their hair tied up in braids and they are carrying bags. So they are on their way to school. From the fourth picture too, the students are all dressed in school uniforms. There's a teacher standing in the middle of the classroom. They are all spaced out, sitting far away from one another. They are all wearing masks. So this is a class that is taking place with the COVID protocols very much in mind. And then the last picture, they are all dressed in sports uniforms and they are playing a game. The name of the game is Kho-Kho. If you're aware of it, very good. So, these are various ways you can frame picture compositions. I would suggest, a reflective, a narrative, or a story are the easiest ways you can attempt picture compositions. Narrative is the easiest, if you ask me. You can imagine yourself in any situation and write an essay based on that. You can also frame stories if you're good at writing stories. But make sure keep all the details in place. You can also write a reflective composition if you really have the confidence, if you really have enough content in your head, if you really have thought about these situations a lot and there's a lot you can write about the pictures that have been given to you. So based on your confidence level, choose whichever topic you want to choose. You do not necessarily have to choose a picture composition. You can also choose something else if the topics are easier. But if you find nothing worth writing on, then obviously you can go for a picture composition. But do remember the rules. Do not just describe the picture, but write an essay on the picture. Take help from the picture and write an essay based on the picture. Do not just describe the picture. So a narrative essay is the easiest to attempt, but if you get themes like air pollution, then obviously a reflective essay is the easier option there. You can just write about the air pollution, the causes, the effects, how it's affecting the environment, how it's affecting the human beings, and ways you can reduce it. If you get examples like the classroom being held during COVID times, you can very well narrate a personal experience there. And in case of the game, the Kho-Kho game, you can develop a full-fledged story out of it with a lot of drama and emotions in it. So I hope you got an idea of how you can look at the pictures and frame picture compositions. That's all for this video. Hope you found this informative. Hope you have a clear idea now as to how you can approach and attempt picture compositions. There's no separate rule for picture compositions. Just one rule: develop a picture composition like an essay. Write a descriptive, narrative, reflective essay on it, or go for a story. That's it. The rules remain the same. Follow the rules of a descriptive essay if you're writing a descriptive essay-based picture composition. Follow the rules of a narrative essay if you're writing a narrative essay-based picture composition. If you're writing a story on it, do follow the rules and elements of a story. Or if you're writing a reflective composition, then you really have to incorporate a lot of thought content, reflections, what the picture is making you think, and so on. So that's it for this video. See you soon in the next video. Thank you.